On, guys. Sorry for not posting. I have been pretty busy with everything from work to the situation going on with the shirts, which I was told they are supposed to have been shipped out today. But I'll try to get some more info on that. The Colossal Pass, which I didn't actually get to play, but thankfully to some awesome members of the Northwest Raiders that did it for me. I did get two shiny Reggie Ice. But let's get into these Ferocious Cup practice with my buddy Brightside. He has been pretty much my local sparring partner. I do recommend, finding a good sparring partner, maybe one that's not in your local area because then you'll they'll know your strategies and what you've been practicing with. Uh, Go Stadium is an amazing place to find a partner like that. But um, so getting to the tail end of this one, I have taken out his Nidoqueen and another Pokemon with my Nidoqueen. So I go for this Earth Power, and it should be enough to knock out his Raichu, Shiny Raichu, which obviously does more damage. So we take that game and get into another one. I lead with Umbreon. He leads with Suicune. This turns out to be an extremely long match. I think we had like 5 seconds left on the timer when it ended. Suicune just draws out matches so much because of the Bubble Beam, especially if you don't have an answer for it, which I don't. I really don't have an answer for any of his team. Um, but we play it out, um, getting off as many foul plays as I can. It was kind of dumb for me to store up energy there because now my attack stat is lowered even more. Where it would have been only lowered by one if I would have just launched the charge attack when I got it. He switches to Umbreon. I go for another charge move, but Umbreon is going to resist on top of my lowered attack stat. And as you saw, I really don't have an answer for Umbreon. So, that's the second Pokemon on his team that I don't have an answer for. And, two tanky Pokemon, one resisting the other, and my attack stat being lower just makes for such a kind of long, boring fight. So, go ahead and, listen to some music, surf the web, find something exciting to do, watch paint dry. This match is kind of boring, but I mean, it's Pokemon, it's meta, so neither one of us have a last resort Umbreon. It might have been a little different had we had that, but considering last resort Umbreon is turning out to be one of the rarest Pokemon in the game, they're pretty hard to find since nobody was thinking about PvP during the EV Community Day. So I go for the Surf here. Um, Not really expecting much, but he does shield it and then faints down my Bibarel. So I bring in my Nidoqueen. I believe I don't shield this, and he brings back in his Suicune. The Bubble Beam, even though weak, is still going to do a pretty decent chunk. And because of Snarl letting Suicune get to it so fast, it will be able to take out my Nidoqueen pretty easy. Um, and even if you shield Bubble Beam, you're still in a bad situation because you still get that attack buff. So I think I let Nidoqueen go down here, which, yeah, would be the right thing to do. And bring back Umbreon to basically fate down the Suicune. That shield was kind of pointless because I think this was my last Pokemon and we're running out of time. So it's not like I'd have any chance to win. I can't see it now, but I'm pretty sure he still had all three of his Pokemon. I don't even think we saw his second Pokemon. But see, there was the time up. So let's get into another match. Hopefully, it's a little more exciting. I do believe he wins this one, so it should be a better one. I start off Skunk Tank versus his Raichu. The situation isn't that bad for me. I charge up some energy, go for Crunch, and I wasn't real worried about the Brick Break. I was more worried about the Wild Charge. Brick Break is going to be neutral damage, and it's not that strong, so I figured I could at least take one. I knew he stored up quite a bit of energy because he likes to store up double charge moves. At least, you know, from what I've seen in my experience. Just kidding. He doesn't. Don't take that to heart. So, anyways, go off for another Crunch. He does double shield and goes for a Brick Break Wild Charge. So he does feint out my Skunk Tank, but I am now up a shield and have a little bit of energy stored on my Ninetales. He swaps out into Bibarel and then into a Alolan Marowak to counter my Alolan Ninetales. Those Fire Spins are doing a lot of damage, and the Psyshock is not. So he's going to pretty easily be able to take out my Ninetales, and I come back in with Nidoqueen. Figured this was a Bone Club, but didn't want to risk that Shadow Ball. I really hope to try to feint him down, but all ghosts are resistant to poison typing, so having to work twice as hard to do that. It hits me with the Bone Club, but I am able to feint down the Alolan Marowak and get off a Earth Power. Almost enough to feint down the Bibarel, but you know, maybe if it was Earthquake, it would have been enough. So we're going to start another match. I lead with Nidoqueen versus his Donphan. Nidoqueen will be resisting the counter of the Donphan. So really all I got to worry about is the Earthquake, honestly. But Heavy Slam, as you saw, does deal a pretty good chunk of damage to Nidoqueen. I go for this Earth Power, and he decides to shield. So, you know, now we're up a shield, but he will be able to get to another charge move before I do. So I invest a shield since I already have, you know, almost another Earth Power stored up, and go for the Earth Power. Now I'm expecting him just to let it go, and it's able to knock out the Donphan. So that gets me the switch advantage. But now his Lanoon does have some stored up energy. And I think I'd come in with Alolan Ninetales. That's actually surprising to me. Just trying to deal as much damage as possible. He brings in his Nidoqueen, and I go for the Psyshock. He does block, and I switch out into Lanoon. These Grass Knots will not be doing super effective, but Dig will. And he's out of shields, so that's why I think I went for the Dig. And it is enough to knock it out. And he comes back in with his own Lanoon. I knew I'd be able to take a Grass Knot, but just barely. So I let him feint out my Lanoon, so it uses up all of his energy. Come back in with Alolan Ninetales and feint him down. Sorry about the black screen. My phone doesn't like to upload stuff to my computer. So let's go ahead and skip a little bit to the next one. And so in this match, we'll be leading Lanoon versus his Vaporeon. This is a pretty good lead for us. The Shadow Claws will be doing neutral damage. It'd be a lot worse if it was a Bibarel. I do try to switch here, but for some reason my phone decides to throw a charge move. So that was fun. Throw out the charge move and switch into Nidoqueen. I do believe he is able to get to a Psyshock right here. So I go ahead and shield to make sure I'm able to take out his Ninetales with a lot of stored energy. Pretty sure I have, close to 2 full Earth Powers, or, right under a second one. So waiting for him to decide what he's going to bring out. I throw out the Earthquake or Earth Power immediately. It is going to be Vaporeon. It does resist it, but it still does a good chunk of damage. So able to get to a second one. I do believe he shields this one, not wanting his Vaporeon to go down, and his Vaporeon will be able to faint down my Nidoqueen. Bring in my Linoon and take this Aqua Tail. So does a pretty good chunk. He brings in Donphan, but he's out of shields, and Grass Knot will be super effective to the ground type of Donphan. So, but the counters on Donphan is enough to knock me out immediately. I bring in my own Donphan, it knocks him out. It brings in Vaporeon and throws a charge move. I do have 1 shield left, so I use it. Not sure how much damage that would do, but I know I'm weak to it, and I had a shield, so why not? Going into this next one, I start Linoon, he starts Suicune. So this is a pretty good lead for me. Trying to get to the Grass Knot before he gets to a Bubble Beam, but unable to. That Snarl just charges up so fast, and he switches out right after his charge move. So I get to that Grass Knot kind of over tapping. I really should have saved it and just swapped out before, but I knew Linoon didn't have the worst matchup against Umbreon, so store up a little bit of energy and then swap out into my terrible Alolan Sandslash. If I had Ice Punch on it, it might have been a little bit of a different game, but I'm really trying not to invest a whole lot of Stardust right now. Pokemon that I possibly won't even be using, because in the Sinister Cup, I spent like 500,000 Stardust on a bunch of Pokemon and hardly used any of them in the weighted cup that I won. So he swaps back into his Suicune. Alolan Sandslash is so low that I'm not going to shield and just let it faint down. And I'm going to come back in with my Linoon. I get the switch glitch, but luckily he gets off a charge move relatively fast. So I'm going to start going for these Grass Knots. I should have close to 2 charged up just because of that switch glitch. I lets it go through even with my attack being reduced. It does a good chunk of damage. And so he lets his Suicune faint and brings back in his Umbreon. I don't think I shield here because I wanted to save a shield for Nidoqueen, because it's pretty bulky to where it can take at least 1 hit from something and get to an Earth Power or Earthquake if you have 2 charge moves, and deal a lot of damage. So I did feel he was storing up a lot of energy, so I don't shield the first and decide to shield the second. And then I believe I would be able to farm it down to store up energy, but he brings in his Alolan Marowak, and I go for the Earth Power. It is super effective, but now he's taking reduced damage from my poison jabs, and I'll be taking super effective from his Bone Club. So he'll be taking that game. GG's as always. Going into this next one, we have this one and 2 more, so if you're getting bored, I'm sorry. I start off Nidoqueen, he starts off Raichu. This is a great matchup for me. Wild Charge and Brick Break will both be reduced damage. and I think Wild Charge is actually double resisted. You switch into Bibarel, Bibarel, Bibarel. That's how you say it, I think. So I go for the Grass Knot, and if gone unshielded, it does a lot of damage. So he does end up shielding, and I'm able to get to a second one. I think he was storing up a lot of energy, trying to go for a 2 charge move back to back. Not sure if that kind of piggybacking truly works as it used to, or as it's supposed to. But I go ahead and shield and double shield to kind of mimic what he's done, investing a lot to take out this barrel. My Nidoqueen was weak to it, and I don't remember the other Pokemon I had. Maybe it was Alolan Ninetales, which technically also loses to Bibarel. So he brings back in his Alolan or his regular Raichu, Kanto Raichu, and uses up some energy to knock out my Noon. I figured I could come in with my Ninetales and store up some energy, but he does hit me with that Wild Charge, dropping me really low. But I am able to feint it down with the massive charm damage, and he brings out his Alolan Ninetales, which I have Nidoqueen, but it is pretty hurt, and I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get to a Psyshock. Well, guess he doesn't. So got really lucky there, taking that game. So second to last match, I start my Alolan Ninetales. He starts Linoon. Both of these quick moves are going to be taking pretty good chunks. I wasn't really sure on how much damage these Grass Knots did, and even for being resisted, they still do a lot of damage. I figured my Ninetales was already pretty hurt, so I throw out this Psyshock and either deal a lot of damage or get a shield. And I come in with my Alolan Raticate. Alolan Raticate is kind of a alternate Umbreon if you don't have the last resort. Some people are saying a foul play Dark Pulse Umbreon is better than Alolan Raticate, but if they don't have last resort, a Raticate can beat Umbreon. So, a couple quick moves, able to feint down the was that Nidoqueen? Maybe, whatever it was. And he brings out Linoon, which is already pretty hurt. Just going for these crunches. They charge up fairly fast. Nothing like if Alolan Raticate had counter, but quick attack isn't the worst move for energy gains. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the actual statistics. So he swaps and I swap at the exact same time, but I kind of get the better end of the deal considering he swapped into electric versus my ground. If he had Swift on his Minun, it might have been a little bit different, but I figured I'd store up a little extra energy so I can use a discharge, or not discharge, he uses discharge, use Earth Power, and then hopefully go for another Earth Power as soon as he brings out his last Pokemon. And we're 1 or 2 attacks away from it. He does have enough for a Grass Knot, which is relatively close to taking us out, but we do survive and go for this Earth Power, which will be enough to finish off his Linoon. So we're able to take that one. And going into our final match, I'll lead Nidoqueen again against Granbull. He is, at a disadvantage, but I think Granbull has a little bit of a higher attack stat because I don't remember Alolan Ninetales doing that much damage, kind of 1v1ing a Nidoqueen. So now we see he's running a double charm strat and decides not to shield his Alolan Ninetales. I'm able to get to 2 earth powers, and he doesn't shield either. And now we see he has a Raichu, which is also weak, English, also weak to earth power or ground moves in general. And so basically his whole team was weak to my lead. I decided not to shield here because I didn't think I could get to another earth power before fainting down. But I knew that my Alolan Raticate was double weak to Brick Break or fighting moves. So I decided I had to shield. He does have enough for 2 because he's really good at energy conservation and management. He does have a shield remaining, so I go for the crunch. It is his last Pokemon, so he has it. You might as well use it. And then he's able to get off a Brick Break, and you'll see that it does a lot of damage to this Alolan Raticate. But I am able to feint it down with just the quick attack. So thanks for watching. If you want to see kind of Brightside's view on the whole thing, I believe he'll be posting his playthrough of our matches today or tomorrow, probably after this video comes out, right before this video comes out, same day it comes out, I don't know. But check it out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. And he's a pretty new and upcoming YouTuber, and that, I guess I am too, but give him some support. Also, the San Antonio will be hosting the Tour of Texas PvP tournament in May. It's supposed to be like a really big tournament, so if you want to get any more info on that, let me know. May is still kind of far away, but I can put people on a list to get updated as I know stuff. Other than that, you can check out Verg's channel, and he'll probably have some info on it on his videos as it gets closer. But I hope y'all enjoy the video. If you did, like, subscribe, share it, comment, do whatever you do, and keep the battle strong, and I'll see y'all in the next one.